We're about to see things heat up in the Quest 3 and VR space as the Apple Vision Pro is set to launch in homes tomorrow, February 2nd. Now, although these two headsets are polar opposites as far as price, availability, and the amount of tech packed into them, you're going to see tons of people comparing them, talking about the two, which one is more worth it. And interestingly, a lot of people are speculating it could actually help the Quest 3 as people see the Apple Vision Pro and what it's capable of and may reach for the more affordable Quest 3. One of Vision Pro's big pushes is that it can support spatial video, something that they already enabled on the iPhone 15 Pro, and we've seen unofficial ways already of how to watch that spatial video on the Quest from channels like VR Oasis, although it looks like the Quest might be getting native support to actually watch these videos that were made just for the Vision Pro. This was found on Twitter by user M1Astra, who's finding within the beta version of Meta's app for iOS, it's referring to these new codecs. Quotes from it saying things like, immerse yourself in your favorite memories by uploading videos on the Meta Quest app, enable spatial video in your camera settings, upload spatial video ready. And this definitely could help support the theory that the Quest 3 will continue to sell more as people find out that it is capable of some of the things the Apple Vision Pro can do in a much cheaper package. What do you think? If you're an iPhone owner, are you excited to take spatial videos and then relive the memories through your Quest? Is it still something you'd rather just post 2D in places? Let me know in the comments. For those of you out there who like the Quest 3 giveaways, we've got another one to tell you about that's going on from My Dearest. They're doing a Quest 3 giveaway. First place is a Quest 3, and there's a second, third place, a $50 Steam or Meta gift card, and a $25 one as well. This is to celebrate the upcoming launch of their new game, Brazen Blaze. This is a 3v3 fighting game that's been compared to Smash Bros for VR. Not only is there multiple different characters to pick from, but this actually shows off a lot of environmental damage in the city, which is something we just don't get enough of in VR. If you're interested in checking it out, open beta testing is going to open up on February 5th. We'll leave links in the description, comments down below in case you want to get signed up for that. That's going to run until the 12th, but midway through on the 8th, there's going to be a new runner update added with another one called Sunshine. And then on 11th, just before that's over, Thrill Seeker is actually going to be doing a challenge in it, live streaming the game. Obviously, you're in trying to defeat the other team, but I can see people even getting this and just playing around and destroying the city together. A huge thanks to My Dearest for sponsoring this week's news. Make sure you check out that giveaway, get entered, or get in that open beta if you want to check it out ahead of time, and then watch for this game launching. Some further works in the development at Reality Labs, which is the XR division at Meta, are showing some really promising futures in augmented reality and mixed reality on the Quest. In this demo, we see something really incredible. What you're seeing here is an actual cart in real life that a virtual character goes up and grabs, and in the moment they grab it, the cart in real life is recreated virtually, and the real life cart is erased from the play space, so it looks like it's no longer there. Then it can interact with this virtual cart, take it, and it pushes it down the stairs, which even the act of this rolling down the stairs is a pretty big step for mixed reality, because right now we haven't seen things really work well with the environment around it. But the fact that you could have something sitting in your play space on your desk, a ball or something, and a character could grab that ball off your desk and it would look like the ball was no longer there. Of course, this brings up safety implications, because if an item like that cart is deleted from your play space, you could just run right into it because it would look like it's no longer there. But this is actually a pretty revolutionary idea. It's something that we haven't really seen yet taken into the virtual world. Although personally, what I'm seeing so far in the Apple Vision Pro that I would love to see come over to the Quest in mixed reality, you can see here in MKBHD's new review video, when he puts up his physical real world hands, they stay in front of the virtual objects around him. The Quest kind of simulates this by having a virtual set of hands that pop up, but with the depth sensor on the Quest 3, it seems like it would be possible to be able to erase the real world past a certain point, past your hands. Although I'll admit, even with all of the amazing technology in the Apple Vision Pro, it doesn't look great around the fingertips and the edges of your hands. I would just love to see that brought over, because think about a game where you incorporate a real world steering wheel and then it brings all of that into the VR game. You see your hands, you see the steering wheel, you see any buttons on you need to use, but beyond that, everything is VR, is the actual driving game. I actually simulated that in a video once upon a time way back in the early days of the channel, and it was not easy to do on the PSVR. But it looks like the future of mixed reality is promising, especially as hopefully Apple and Meta start to push each other more and more. A lot of you were really excited when we dropped the news. We had just found out BoboVR was making this new S3 Pro head strap specifically for the Quest 3. They were fixing the problem with the Quest 3 of the low battery life by making a new 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack that charges faster than the others, a digital display screen on the side, and even an integrated fan to help with fogging and keeping you cool in the headset. We dropped the full review video yesterday. If you missed that, I will leave a link at the end of the video to it. But overall, so far, I'm loving the strap. Only found a few minor cons, nothing that was a deal breaker, so check that out if you want to know more. I'll leave a link in the comments and description over to that video, or if you just want to order it, if you've been watching all that, I'll leave a link to order it as well. We've shown you the multiple reports about the potential of a Quest 3 Lite coming, possibly to replace the Quest 2 in the lineup. Reports from industry insiders, data scraping, and tech analysts. And as these are coming together, together, we are seeing different news publications going back and forth on what exactly the specs could be and the features. Upload VR making the argument now that it really should have mixed reality color pass-through, even though the last report said to make it cheaper it would be black and white pass-through. Talking about how if the Lite is going to use the XR2 Gen 2 chipset the same as the Quest 3 as we've seen so far, keeping it running with color mixed reality would actually be a lot simpler on developers rather than expecting them to develop it differently. Black and white pass-through also looked at as very outdated at this point, and the cost still could be saved pretty easily by not including the depth sensor, as people can map their own environments without it, and not having controllers, obviously saving a cost as well. This possibly being validated by a discovery inside of Quest firmware by a data miner who found a new headset codenamed PANTHER, and the PANTHER actually has a debug feature built in that would stop a depth projector from being used for apps, meaning likely there just isn't one. A lot of this is speculative, but these are the most up-to-date rumors about a Quest 3 Lite. Where are you at? If you still have a Quest 2, would you look to upgrade to something like a Quest 3 Lite, or would you rather go directly for the Quest 3? Or even, as I've seen in some of the comments, some of you are holding out for a Quest 4. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're like me, you probably noticed Apple Vision Pro early reviews have been coming out just days before launch, and I've been watching as many as I can get my eyes on. And so far, early reviews are mostly very positive, but with some just general questions. People saying obviously the 4K OLED micro displays are incredible, although bringing up that the field of view is smaller than expected. The Verge saying it was even smaller than the Quest 3's field of view, surprising at its price point. People like MKBHD mentioning that the pass-through is sharp enough if you need to look at notifications on your phone, but if you were to try and read like an article through your phone, the smaller text you're probably not gonna be able to see, especially dependent on the room lighting around you. People bring up one of the major uses for it so far is multitasking, although showing how if you bring up your MacBook on it, you can still only have one monitor like the MacBook itself has. You can't bring up multiple monitors. You can make it really big and split it up at least, but next to that, you can put other apps like music or news apps alongside, so it does feel like you have multiple displays, although your MacBook is only running on one of them. A lot of them still kind of saying it doesn't have a killer app yet, wondering what the main purpose for the headset is really going to end up being. And people bring up, as far as the cons, obviously the comfort, the field of view, and then that the lenses themselves actually have a bit more distortion around the edges, so you really need to be looking through the sweet spot in comparison to the Quest 3, which has a much larger sweet spot. Obviously, the actual units are getting out to people tomorrow, so we'll see tons more reviews from people who are more familiar with VR and not as broad of just tech reviewers. But it's been interesting to watch them so far and see what people are saying. And with that, Apple has supposedly sold over 200,000 of the pre-orders already. Still a small number in comparison to something like AirPods Pro, but this is a $4,000 headset. People also bring up not being in love with the fact that it's a battery pack. It's smaller than expected as far as battery capacity, being 35.9 watt hours. Although the battery pack itself is so big, you would expect it to almost be a 10 or even a 20,000 milliamp hour. MKBHD speculated this is probably because they did a lot of heat shielding so that it doesn't get warm inside your pocket. An interesting thing with the apps, most Apple apps are just going to work on this automatically in 2D, the same way they'd work on an iPad, unless the developer went in and specifically opted out. And one developer that went in and specifically opted out of this being available was Netflix. When questioned about this, the Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters did give a very diplomatic response, saying basically they're going to wait and see where the Apple Vision Pro goes, and that they don't want to invest in something that there may not be any possibility of return, but it is still available if you just open up Netflix in the browser on Vision Pro. It is an unusual choice when the iPad version could have just went over automatically, that they for some reason specifically opted out though, and I'm guessing there's a little more to the story. With that said, who out there is getting an Apple Vision Pro tomorrow? Are any of you in Oregon or Southern Washington? Because I would come out and check it out with you. I'm not going to be getting one. It's just way too expensive, and I'm not very integrated into the Apple ecosystem, so it would be a lot if I considered switching phone, watch, tablet, MacBook, all of that. After some disappointing news for the PlayStation VR 2 community after Rec Room didn't come over and low holiday sales, State of Play actually came out with some PSVR 2 news this week. Vertigo Games, developers of Arizona Sunshine and Deep Silver, revealed Metro Awakening. Now, this did reveal during the State of Play for PSVR 2, but it looks like this is not going to be exclusive to PSVR 2, with it being announced this will be coming to all major headsets. And this, of course, being part of the current Metro series, is taking you back to post-apocalyptic Russia. Metro Awakening is going to be a story-driven first-person game, and it's actually an adventure game built just for VR. It's exciting, obviously, to see another big title, big franchise coming to VR, although if it's not going to be exclusive to PSVR 2 for any time, is this going to really drive any more headset sales of the PSVR 2? I'd say that's less likely. It was big news when a name like Panasonic was going to come to VR with their Shift Hall branch, and we actually got to try one of these headsets at CES last year. Although extremely uncomfortable, it was a very small form factor, but now now news coming that Panasonic is selling this off to another Japanese company. The PCVR headset was supposed to come out at the end of 2021. It's kept getting pushed, and this is the headset that ended up eventually being named the Megan X, although a lot of people either call it Shiftall or even some YouTubers calling it Shitfall. And a small number of units have actually gone out in Japan, but it's never made it to the US besides trade shows. Even with all this news, they did show off a new one at CES this year we didn't get to test, the super light version, cutting its weight nearly in half from 400 to 200 grams, but now it seems Panasonic doesn't want to continue investing and has sold the whole thing off. Does that mean this headset will continue to be developed? It does seem like if they just came out with a new prototype, it will continue to try to make it to market, but at the original price of $1,700, the big screen beyond does look like a much better deal at $1,000, since both of these are still PC tethered VR headsets. A lot going on in the news this week. Obviously, tomorrow's a big day with Apple Vision Pro finally launching. We'll get to see a lot of reviews, probably from some familiar faces, people that we know in the VR industry, and it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, because a lot of the people who are trying it, they may have tried VR, but they're definitely being wowed by the experiences that we've been seeing in VR for nearly a decade now. But it'll be interesting to see the public's reaction and how many people actually start wearing these things out in public. What do you think? Are you one of those people who's waiting for one cheaper? Are you getting this first edition? Are you sticking with the Quest 3? Or if you see what you like with it, are you maybe going to go get a Quest 3 because of it? Let me know in the comments down below, but thank you once again for being here with me today, and I'll see you in another reality.